every time I'm at the lowest point of my career, the first thing that I want to look for is a relationship. It's so bizarre. I don't know why. It's almost like if I cannot have this thing going well in my life, let me have a relationship to go well so that I have something to anchor for.
Yeah.
If not, I feel like I'm a complete failure, you know? So after I realized that, I just allowed everything to fall. I dropped everything. I allow myself to start from ground zero. I allow myself to start to accept myself when I have nothing.
Yeah.
So I have no relationship. I took a break from my career.
Mm-hmm.
I start to focus on myself, you know, and with the little that I had in my life during that period, I try to like myself.
Thanks for joining, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Are we starting?
Yeah.
We are starting. Okay.
Yeah, we are. And look, man, so we are in the new studio right here.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's really important that you join me today because you are one of the people that gave me the idea of doing this whole thing, you know? And like two years ago, we were having this conversation, you know, we were talking about our sentimental life, and you told me a lot of stuff that helped me reflect a lot. And the thing that you told me, that was, you know, they talk about how sometimes in life there are decisive moments, you know, like you make that decision, it's going to change a lot of stuff. And that was one of them. You said this thing, you said, when I'm in a place of deficit, I attract people in a place of deficit.
Yeah.
And for me, it has helped me a lot, you know, to understand that I needed to spend some time alone, to stop trying to date at all costs, to stop trying to be in a relationship at all costs, and to learn to be at peace with myself, by myself, you know, and to live for myself instead of, you know, trying to look good for someone else. And, you know, and I spent about 2 years doing that too. I spent about 2 years being single. And so, yeah, I mean, before I go into the details, dude, I'm like, you know, did you get that from a movie? Where did you get that sentence?
I don't know. I think I got that from everywhere. But, you know, to be honest, from then till today, as you say, it's been 2 years. Even my understanding of what I said then has evolved so much. So I think when we first met and we were having that conversation, okay, that wasn't the first time we met, but I think we just got to know each other, right? And I was going through a rough patch with my own relationship. I was coming out of it, and I was doing a lot of work on myself. And you were talking to me about your own experiences and what you were grieving or healing from. And I felt like that message just came through me without any intention. It just really flowed out of me, out of my own experience. Since then, what I've also come to realize is I think we'll always be in deficits. I mean, that's just human nature, right? We will never be fully balanced or fully healed or coming to a place of perfection or completion. But when I told you that, I think there was a part of me that was hoping to heal every part of me so that I could just get into a relationship that relationship would be perfect from then on. But I mean, 2 years has passed, and I've also, like you, been single for 2 years. I've continued to work on myself, some days more, some days less. I've come to realize that I don't think I'll ever be perfect. I don't think I'll ever be completely healed. And there will be wounds, there will be scars that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. But maybe I will not react on those scars as triggers as much as before. But to say that I'll one day be not in a state of deficit, I don't believe that's ever going to come true. So yeah, so it's been weird because I think over the last 2 years, as we've also been friends, you've constantly also brought this up, that I've shared this nugget with you and that has helped you. And I've always reflected on that nugget that I shared with you to see how true that has been for me today. And I do still feel like there's some truth to that. I feel like if there's a gap in our, whatever you want to call it, our soul, our heart, we'll always be trying to fill that gap. And if we go on looking for that filling in other relationships, it can be many things. It can be money, it can be career. But since we're talking specifically about relationship, right? Whoever that we're going to latch onto, we're going to expect them to fill up that gap for us. And I feel like that kind of attraction may not be the healthiest as a precondition into a relationship. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm still learning along the way. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in this. If not, I wouldn't have still been single. 5 relationships later, still single, still here talking to you about relationship.
Yeah.
So I am by no means a pro in this. I don't have a degree or a
Relationship
master.
coach.
No, not at all. I
The
do
more we
not
talk,
dare
the less
to.
we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot has changed. A lot has grown for me. Today, I think I try to carry my gaps. I try to carry my deficit with me. And if I happen to be in a relationship in the future, I think it's more about being mindful about the deficit. And there are so many conditions to look into when we first get into a relationship. It's not just always constantly watching out about the deficit. There are deficit, and whether we are a match or whether we're unhealthy or healthy, I feel like that's just going to put so much stress on us in the beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to take away so much of the fun in the earlier part of the relationship when we're all about just like, oh my God, is that person like unhealthy? Is that person healthy? Is that person having a gap? Is that person having a deficit? Is this like deficit attracting deficit? Oh my God, that's just going to drive all of us insane.
Or is it the same old thing coming back again?
Yeah. And people, for those who believe in manifestation, the more you think about it, the more it comes to you.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like a very good friend of mine, he told me this thing. Like I had run into like recently, like so I went back into exploring relationships, and I ran into that that shit show, dude. Like I found out the person was married and stuff, and she was completely freaking out, and so I got it short very early, and my friend told me that I attracted that. He said, you need to get into that. You attract what you're vibing on, in terms of wavelength. And I really felt of that, and that really made me rethink how I want to approach this now. Like, give you an example. So I'm still, I still have a profile up on, it's not a specific dating app, but it's something social. And I didn't know there was dating functionality. I've been using it for about a month now, but not intense like I used to. And so, for example, I'm really trying to do things differently now. When someone, like literally, I have a couple of someone who wanted to meet for dinner, and I said, no, let's meet for lunch instead. And they're like, okay, so in that case, it's not for this week, it's next week. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not even trying to rush it. Yeah. I'm not even trying to make it by night. And I'm not even trying to get it at all cost, Like, oh, you are proposing Friday night. Of course it works, like what I used to be in the past, like fucking desperate. No, I'm like, no, it doesn't work for me. Let's do lunch instead. In 2 weeks' time, no problem at all.
Okay.
And that puts me, in that, I prefer that posture, of like giving it a bit of a weight, not having that anticipation
high, right?
And the explosion. And I'm really trying to stay away from that now.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely trying to stay away from that.
Yeah. I think in my loneliest nights or days sometimes, over the last 2 years, there are some days that I crave or I miss that kind of high. The feeling of like having someone to want and having someone to want me and being able to be on the text and be like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to meet up right now? But that, I mean, like, today, I think this is part of what we talk about healing the deficit and things like that, right? After I slowly did some work on myself, I've also come to realize that those emotions that push me to have that adrenaline or that urgency to immediately seal the deal in that relationship, they fade away so quickly though. It's almost like once you got what you wanted, that intensity has lessened.
Yeah.
And I stopped allowing that to be a guiding force for me to think that, oh, that's my one true love. In the past, I would always feel like, oh my God, I'm feeling so intensely for that person. There must be something that I must love that person. That person must be so important to me. Today, I think less so. Today, I'm actually more wary. If I feel that intensely about that person, right, I'm more like, okay, let's take a step back and see what this is first. Because I think that is an attraction, but is that attraction logical? Is that attraction healthy? But I also don't drive myself insane by thinking about all the different scenarios about how it would be an unfit. Because like I say, it will drive me insane again, So I think I'm quite in the same place as you where I'm willing to like take a breather, space out the meeting, space out the texting, and see where this goes. Because if we're going for the long haul, if we're going for the long game, right, we should be able to sustain that. If we cannot even sustain not being able to meet immediately, then where is the long haul? Yeah, but in my 20s, I wouldn't even be thinking about the long haul.
No, of course not.
we're all thinking about just right now because I'm still young, you know. Yeah, but I think also the dating culture has changed a lot. In maybe my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation, people date. People don't date. People just get married. They got introduced, they got married. And then maybe my parents' generation date to get married. Today we date because it feels good. It's a kind of companionship. It's a kind of thing that we just see it as a very fleeting thing. If it works, it works. It doesn't work, it doesn't work. There are so many times that my friends are just like, Ben, why are you not dating? I'm like, because I haven't seen anyone I want to be in a relationship with. And then they're like, why are you so picky? I'm like, of course I'm picky. I'm like, I'm not going to the market and just buying fish, like whoever I want to go with into this relationship is someone that I want to go in with for the rest of my life. I don't want to just do let's see where it goes. If it works out, then let's get married. If it's not, then it's fine. I mean, my heart cannot take the heartbreak anymore. I'm so tired of grieving over a relationship. Yeah, so I think I'm more careful today. Yeah.
I had a moment like this with someone, I got, it started with a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement, lust basically. And then when the explosion is over, right, I realized that getting what I wanted didn't make me feel the way I thought it would. And that's exactly what I don't want to feel ever again. I felt that so many times too, that I don't want to feel it one more time. That's it moment, because it makes me feel like fool's gold, I've been fooling myself, like that I've been chasing the dragon, literally, because then immediately after I'm like, I just want to be alone now.
Yeah,
I don't want to be with that person, and that's precisely something that I don't want to feel again. I don't want to experience that again. It's
But I feel like it's also about rewiring, because I think we are in a generation, and we are quite close in age. So we are in a generation where the media has liberalized a lot of things in terms of relationship and talking about sex, right? Like to have the kind of liberal lifestyle that we have today was unimaginable even for our parents' generation. Just like one partner after another, and being able to hook up without being in a relationship, that is so different. And the next generation after us, which is the Gen Z, has a more different definition of sex as it is today. Today where I am right now, and I never thought I would say this, but I wish I hadn't given away the sex so earlier on in life. I wish that hasn't been something that I didn't value as much, because I think I grew up with so much media talking about just people in love, just falling into it, having sex and things like that. It being something that it's so separate from a relationship, But I mean, over the last 2 years, just being single and not actively engaging with anyone at all, there are some days that I just wish that I haven't given that part of me away so quickly, because I feel like every time I give that part away from me, the attachment to the person is bonded, is formed, and then to have to tear away with that person, whether I'm in a relationship or not, there's always a part of me that's being torn out, that's being broken, that's being there is always a sort of grief that I don't quite understand. Of course in a relationship, yeah. And then in a deeper sexual relationship, yeah. But then sometimes even in a very casual sexual relationship, right, there's always that part that just feels like something is weird. I don't really care about the person, but there is some part of me that just feels like unwell. So maybe there is value in saving for marriage. Maybe that's a wisdom that I think today's society has thrown away so quickly, even though it has been with humanity for the however decades or centuries that it has been, saving for marriage, having only one sexual partner, which is the one that you get married to. But over the last 50 years, that has gone out the window. And then today you have all the different things like polyamory, more than one sexual partners, more than one romantic partners. That is something that I still don't comprehend yet. You know, I'm not criticizing anyone. I feel like it's a whole different generation ball game. I can only say that I have very little experience and knowledge with that field, and it's not something that speaks to me. Yeah.
That's and that was something that I read that thing that it's from this book, A New Pair of Glasses. I just put it there behind the Ghostbuster ambulance. Like I was reading that part. I read that part 2 days ago when the writer Chuck C talks about how, you know, someone asked him about sex, and he talks about how what he recommends is sex coming in the context of a loving relationship. And he says because sex is temporary, and when the explosion is over, at least there is love left. There is nothing left. And this is that feeling of nothing left that is just not acceptable for me anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not something I'm interested in, you know. It's like I'm done. I'm really done feeling that. So for me, without going into, you know, marriage, I mean, for me, for now, it's more about, you know, reframing it. For me, the way I would approach it, it has to be part of a loving relationship. You know, like for the last 2 years, man, I've been, until a month ago, I've been off the apps. Then I engaged. So there was a friend of mine. We got to know each other a bit. And then after 8 months, sex got in the mix, and that person was like, yeah, but I don't want to be in a relationship. And I was like, that's fucking perfect, bro. Because, you know, I'm damaged goods, right? And I need to be single for a while. So I decided to try the fling thing. And fuck, man, it was miserable.
Yeah.
It was fucking miserable.
Why?
The self-seeking. Holy shit. Like I was not expecting that. That was a real lesson of humility for me. Like like she would fall asleep and ask me to turn the lights off, turn the lights off on my way out without leaving her bed, you know, like, and I was like, whoa. And
does that affect you?
Yeah, without walking me to the door, dude. And I was like, fuck, you know, and I definitely have done this in the past to a couple of persons, maybe more. And I was like, so this is how it feels.
So this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like it's about like after we always think that we can keep the sex separate from the relationship, right? And just go for flings after flings, right? But there's something about sex, the intimacy that bonds us even when we don't understand it.
Yeah.
So that was the part that I always feel like, you know, beyond the relationship or beyond a more committed sexual relationship, you know, the flings part, I always feel like something is not quite clicking there. There is a sense of emptiness.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's even a sense of hurt. So I feel, I don't know, it does sound like there is a sense of hurt when that person who you just had an encounter with just asked you to go and turn off the light without even caring if you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, granted that she's a girl and you're a guy, but it doesn't really matter, right?
No, it doesn't.
It's supposed to go both ways, right? We're caring about each other after sex. So that's the part that I feel like the values of our generation is very, very different from the values of the previous generation, where we try to make sex into a commodity instead of something that's more intimate. Yeah,
it's like having a coffee. Let's have sex instead of coffee. You know what I mean? And it's interesting what you mentioned about the because obviously that was the first thing that I noticed. And then when we talk about intimacy itself, like without going too graphic, we don't need those details in this conversation. But long story short, like that person was only thinking about herself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, okay, so I'm going to do the same now. But then eventually I was like, why did I even come over? You know what I mean? Like if I'm only going to think about myself, so why don't I just stay home, you know? And and I don't even need to be here, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like, you know, that feeling of being used. And you know, I was sharing that with some colleagues. You know, I work with therapists, and one of them was like, holy shit, she was grooming you. She was love bombing you at the beginning. And then because, you know, like I met her in February and that thing became sexual in October. And in between, she would invite me for dinner. She would lock me in. Like, I didn't know that term, but locking someone basically is wishing good morning as soon as you wake up and good night when you go to bed to the person. Like she was locking my day. You know what I mean? Asking me out for dinner, like almost every week at some point. And then this thing started like 8 months down the line. And then all of a sudden it became, you know, this thing, like the one thing, man, that was a stroke that broke the camel back for me was one time, like she messaged me and she's like, "Hey, you want to join us? We are finishing dinner." And I was like, when I want to meet a friend, I have my own values, and I ask a friend to join me for dinner with my other friends. I'm not like, we are done with dinner, do you want to join us?
Yeah.
I was like, I really felt like
a backup.
Like how? Yeah. Like, what am I?
Right.
You know what I mean? It was, yeah, man. It was very, like a lot of that stuff, I haven't done it, at least not for over 15 years now. And, but being on the receiving end this time, I was like, shit, it's not cool at all. But I'm grateful, that I have enough self-esteem to be like, I don't need this shit. I can do much better. I do not need that at all.
You have the self-esteem only because you started doing work on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that person, that lady friend of yours, she might not even be aware that she's doing this. To her, it's just a very natural thing, right? Oh, I just finished like dinner with my friend. I'm feeling a kind of emptiness. I need like a warm body. I need like some kind of emotional bombing from someone for me so that I can feel better about myself. So to her, it's kind of like a zombie walking. She's just naturally gravitating towards her next comfort until she's able to see and stop and look inwards. Like, I think me and you, maybe in the past, before we started working on ourselves, we might be the same way.
Absolutely.
Not even might. I'm sure we were the same way.
Yeah, autopilot,
right? Yeah. So, I mean, along the way, we've hurt other people. Other people are hurting us right now. It's so easy for us to just judge the other person. But today is more of like, okay, I think we're at different places in our lives. Like, this is not the kind of relationship I want to go into right now. I mean, am I lonely? I am sometimes. Do I feel like sometimes I wish to have a quick fix? Some days I do, but experiences have shown that I always walk away feeling the same, which is as before the encounter or even worse. So what's the point? You're right to ask that. What's the point of me going there? Like, I'm just going to feel the same way. Like, and then I'll have to give a part of me. Yeah. And then maybe she's taking too much of me that I'm going to be left with even less. That's just even going to be more painful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, like when we talk about deficits, because, like this time I spent, not trying to date, not trying to, the way it worked, man, is that the last time I was in a stable relationship, so the person left me while she was traveling, and then I was like, fuck that. So I decided to go on Tinder again, and I remember I used the free version of Tinder. I was like, yeah, let's put a cap on this thing, and I used it for a couple of nights, and then I had some good positive responses. Like maybe 3 to 5 active conversations, and 3 were like, let's meet up, and I had the phone numbers, and then I realized I don't want to meet up. Yeah. I don't want to meet, and that's when I, something snapped inside me, and I deleted my profile. I called the phone numbers. I called 3 of them. I told them, I'm sorry, I can't be in a relationship, and I wish you the best and stuff. And I had a positive response, and then it gave me a lot of things happen. Once I removed that distraction, because it was a distraction, not to feel a pain, right? I was using human presence as a painkiller, basically.
Yeah.
And once that distraction was removed, about a week or 2 weeks later, this is when a traumatic memory resurfaced, something that was buried for 30 years, dude. It was crazy. And but then later, I was able to do some trauma work on that, some spiritual work as well. And I really got into that place where, I'm happy being on my own now, and I don't need anyone, to give me a solution to being alone. You know what I mean?
I actually really relate to what you just described. Because I think for a while, right, I also felt like I don't use any dating apps. I haven't been for a while, but the way I got to know new people is sometimes through social media, especially Instagram, and just sliding into each other's DM and things like that. And I relate to the part where, like, after we chat for an extended period of time and then it's time to meet up, right, I actually don't have the interest to meet. And that's one of the most bizarre experiences that I've ever had, because and that did not just occur for one person, it occurred for a couple of people, and it's not even meeting for anything, just meet for coffee, and things like that. And I started asking myself, why am I so uninterested in meeting them in person, but yet I am so interested to keep that conversation going online? And the only thing is because I'm lonely. I am lonely, and but I also know that I don't want to be in a relationship. Some days I feel lonely and I wish that I don't have to be alone, and I just use that as a quick fix,
Yeah.
And after I got to know that, I become more mindful, and it becomes easier to not turn to any kind of romantic conversation to have my quick fix. And today I turn to friends. And that's something that I never got to understand, because in the past people are like, Ben, when you're lonely, why don't you just call your friends? And my reply is always, I want something different. I want something more. I want something romantic. Like being friends, I can be very close friends with you. I can laugh and do things with you, but there's a certain kind of intimacy that I don't get out of friends. But today, maybe it's age. Like I don't really want to give away intimacy so quickly right now, but I'm able to build a different kind of intimacy with friends where I'm able to just hang out with them. I'm able to just be grateful about the life that we have together and just do fun things together, like go out for activities, go meet other friends, go travel or things like that. Whereas in the past, that would never have been an option. Like I think in my younger days, there would be moments that like I would just be scrolling through my contact list, either on Instagram or my phone book on my phone, just to see who I can text. And that was more than one occasions. And that always left an impact on me, because I always felt like, Ben, you're so pathetic. You're so pathetic. Like you're literally trying to, like, you don't have anyone specific in mind to hang out with. So you're just scrolling through like, who can I text? Who can I call? And then, you know what's the worst part about that? The worst part about that is after coming to the end of the contact list, you realize that there's no one that you really want to hang out with. And then I would just plop myself on my bed and be like, oh, Ben, you're so sad. Again, like, you're so pathetic. You have no one to hang out with. Things like that. It's all the negative self-talks that come in. But that is so not true. I have friends. I have so many friends. I mean, you know me. Like, I am not a bad person, and I'm not exactly an introvert. I am pretty outgoing and things like that. It's more of like, I think the kind of thing that I'm looking for is a deep intimacy, that I don't want just a shallow hangout at that point in time. So when I don't have a partner to do that with, who can I turn to? And friends don't necessarily satisfy that craving, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but today that craving has gone down a whole lot. It has gone down a whole lot. Today, I think what I've built for myself is a life where I'm actually pretty content being by myself. I really do enjoy my own company. I hear that a lot in the past. I never truly understood that when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Today, I truly understand that. Like, right after this podcast, I don't even want to go see who to hang out. I just want to go have dinner and go home and watch Netflix. Like, that's all I want to do. I don't want to talk to anyone, because I think I'm done. My day is done. I'm happy to just spend the rest of my night with myself, just watching the new Korean drama that I just started last night. That's the truth. Whereas in the past, I cannot, man. Like, I always want to find someone to talk to. Today, it's a little exhausting, unless that person is actually someone that I want to build a connection with. Friend, platonic, or romantic. Like, yeah. So maybe it comes with age also. I don't know. Yeah.
There was this guy, Jordan Belfort, the guy who wrote The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
I mean, it's not that I'm going to recommend the book here. I think the book has a lot of bullshit in it. And the movie was not great for my mental health. Let's put it this way. But one time he was giving an interview about suicide.
Oh.
And he said this beautiful thing, like the journalist had lost his father to suicide, rest in peace. And he asked him about suicide. And Jordan answered, he said, I believe that it takes a heartbeat to change. It doesn't take time to change. It takes a heartbeat, meaning that when you have felt enough pain associated to a specific behavior, and you don't want to feel it ever again, and you change.
It's true.
And so for me, this is it, like I felt that void so many times, man. That void of, this is not what I thought I would get. Shit, what am I doing now? And I felt that, and it hurt a lot of people. Like going into those relationships, like it's interesting. I really like the word that you use, deficit, because if I were to put a pattern here, a label, a sticker, it's beauty. I was falling for beauty, man. I was a slave to beauty. That was my main criterion to decide if I'm going to marry you or not. That that was my relationship. That was, yeah.
Okay. Beauty of the person or beauty of the relationship?
No, beauty of the person, bro.
Right.
That's it, So it was, so yeah, man, and so I would go into those relationships, and don't get me wrong, the women I was with, they were wonderful. They were wonderful persons, but I would rush into it. I would fucking rush, man. And it would be so a lot of anticipation, a lot of infatuation. And after 2 months, when reality hits, when all that, I don't know how to call it, all that, it's like breathing that hallucinatory gas, that Scarecrow throws, in Batman. So for me, it's like when the effect of that gas dissipates, this is a real person in front of you now. And because I would go all in, I would be like, move in my place, put your clothes at my place. Here is a space in the wardrobe for you. I love you, and I would pray for the person every morning. Man, I swear, I thought we would get married. I was going for it. But after 2 months, lights out. It's over. I have the real person in front of me, and I don't want to touch her anymore. And she asks me what's wrong. And she thinks it's because she put on weight, and she started going on a diet.
Oh, no.
And she times 5, about 5 women went through that in 3 years, man.
Yeah.
And I kept starting again, but this time different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't found the right person. I need to try one more time. And I was always trying, and to a point that I was like, okay, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, there is no point, going back, and maybe if I do it differently this time, because I hit that point so many times that I was like, I'm done. I'm just done, because no matter how hard I tried, meaning no matter how more beautiful I was going for, that had become the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because since my level of attraction was disappearing, that genius was thinking, because I must find someone more attractive now.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, And the thing is that it kept happening with people that were more and more attractive. And it was always the same thing. I don't want to have intimacy with that person anymore. And so that really got me to, I just don't want to feel that ever again. I don't want to inflict that to somebody ever again. And so that really got me to think, when I have these options now, because there is that dating thing, like some people like my profile, where I really start having that filter. Is it sexual or is it the person? Am I looking at a sexual pleasure opportunity here, or am I looking at a human being I'm interested in knowing? And that has become the thing now for me. If it's option 1, it's not good at all. It's absolutely not good. And that's not what I'm looking for, because I know that was what I'm going to have. What I'm going to get is not what I want. What I'm going to get is that moment of loneliness, remorse, self-disgust, following the orgasm, basically, and I don't want that. I just don't want that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to keep the slate clean now. And it's not like I'm in a hurry to meet someone. I'm absolutely not. And like what you told me again, like the deficit, it really helped me a lot, because when I'm in conversation with women now, I don't need shit from any of them. I don't need them to message me. I don't need their attention. I don't need their body. I don't need to meet up now. I don't need to meet up this week. I don't need to have that thing right now, that validation. Like I have this colleague at work, like at the clinic. And that was so weird, because coming back to that dating world after a year and a half of not touching it, 2 years, I noticed a lot of different things now. And my colleague was telling me that there are some women, some people now, what they do is that they create a profile on Tinder, and they just get a buzz from seeing the likes.
Yeah.
And some others, they just want to have a conversation, a chat.
Yeah.
And like, I have a friend, she was telling me that she got banned because she was chatting, but she wouldn't want to meet up. And her profile has been reported so many times because of that now she's fucking banned, bro. It's crazy.
The kind of accomplishment you must have to be banned by Tinder.
Yeah, man. The bar is so high, bro.
What's your accomplishment? You're like, I've been banned by Tinder before. Oh my goodness.
You must put your heart and soul and start very early in the morning. You know what I mean? You need to work really hard to get there. And so you see, so that's something that I'm very grateful now, that I don't need the company. I don't need the remote attention. I don't need the, like someone just, but also now that makes me very appreciative when this happens. For example, there is this girl, she's asking me like, how is my day at work and what do I do and what I'm trying to achieve with what I'm doing now, now I'm paying attention. And also on the other hand, because it's not a game anymore. So that means I'm also paying attention when someone is not interested, when I do the chasing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to chase anymore.
It's more obvious right now, right?
Yeah. And now I'm like, I can just drop it. I'm like, yeah, you haven't checked on me, for a while. So I don't need to,
Yeah. In the past, that would have made me gone harder. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
The more distant they are, the more it's like, oh my goodness, what is wrong? Like, let me figure this out. Let me go harder at it.
Try harder.
Yeah. Did you manage to figure out what your deficit was?
But the deficit, the first one for me was beauty, because I used to think, and I'm pretty sure in the comments, a lot of people will say, no, this is still true. I used to think I was fugly.
Okay.
So no, I really used to believe that seriously. And for me, it was that thing that I needed to fill the gap with beauty. And also like very recently, like I've done ayahuasca earlier this year, and part of it was a journey, man, that started over a year ago now with rebirth breath work. And long story short, what I found out is that when I was born, I was taken away from my mom for the first 29 days of my existence because of health reasons. And it creates a lot of damage to a human being when this happens, because at the time the baby is supposed to be touched, cared for, looked at, soothed. And a lot of that was not happening. So that means that whether I like it or not, my brain has literally been wired for being terrified and craving the presence of a woman to save me. Yeah. It's like my hardware, from like 40 years ago now. And so one of those deficits was safety, make me feel safe, and that's something actually that, that I used to crave, that I used to, and that was one of the massive reason for breaking up or stopping seeing someone when I was seeing something that wouldn't make me feel safe anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I relate to that because I mean my deficit is I don't think it's one thing, it's an enmeshment of thing, but one of it is abandonment. Yeah. The other thing is not feeling good enough, and hence being abandoned or not being selected or things like that. And now that I look back about my past relationships, right? I think a lot of them, they have the qualities that made me feel like if I were to be able to get with them, right, it reflects a certain kind of accomplishment and achievements for me, not in a sexual way, but more of like as a person, I'm good enough to be with this person, because this person is either very accomplished, very good looking, very smart, very desirable to other people. So if I will be able to be in a relationship with that person, other people will look at me differently. Yeah. Other people will see me. And I think I got to this realization after I ended my last relationship 3 years back, and I was so tired. I think we talk about being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah. I was so sick and tired of breakups. Every single big breakup tore my soul apart, man. Like, and it took me so long to heal from it. Always. Yeah. So like after my last relationship, I was done. I was like, I'm not gonna try for a while. Let me heal. Let me look at what's going on. And I reflected on all my past relationships, and they are all so different people. People always ask like, what's your type, Ben? And I genuinely couldn't give them an answer.
Same.
I genuinely couldn't give them an answer because I feel like what I was looking for was not like a specific kind of look or a specific kind of quality. What I'm looking for is whether they can make me feel like I am good enough. I think that's my type. Yeah. My type is like, I don't care how you look or whatever it is. I think who you are, if I'm with you, makes me feel like I'm good enough. That's my type. So all my past relationships, right, they are so different. All of them are so different. So when I got to see that, right, I come to realize that, okay, I know I feel lonely, but I think I have to stop for a little bit, because if I go in for another loneliness kind of relationship, it's going to end the same way. Then I have to go through the same breakup process of healing again. I'm done with that. Let me heal the part of me that feels like I'm not good enough. Let's connect the dot, like where is that coming from? And it came from childhood. It came from relationship with parents. It came from my upbringing. It came from different things, And I'm saying this not because I blame any part of my upbringing or anything. Today I have a good relationship with my parents, and I love them. I want the best for them. I knew they did their best, but I have to acknowledge that a part of how they were in the past affected how I see myself today. And that's my deficit. My deficit is that I see myself as uh just not good enough, simply put. Like not good enough in every respect. No matter how well I did in school, how out there my career is, how public my career is, I always felt like people are looking at me thinking that like I am not doing well enough, and I'm judging myself for not being well enough. And I'll tell you this, every time I'm at the lowest point of my career, the first thing that I want to look for is a relationship. It's so bizarre. I don't know why. It's almost like if I cannot have this thing going well in my life, let me have a relationship to go well so that I have
Soothe the
something to
pain.
anchor for.
Yeah.
If not, I feel like I'm a complete failure, you
Yeah.
know? So after I realized that, I just allowed everything to fall. I dropped everything. I allow myself to start from ground zero. I allow myself to start to accept myself when I have nothing.
Yeah.
So I have no relationship. I took a break from my career. I start to focus on myself, and with the little that I had in my life during that period, I try to like myself. I try to do gratitude lists. I try to see the good in myself. I am not there yet. Every single day, there will still be something inside of me that tell me that I'm not good enough. I can tell you for sure that after I walk out from this room, I might be thinking, what am I talking about, Ben? Like, whatever you just shared sounded so stupid. Things like that always come into my mind. So it's more about being aware of them. If I cannot eradicate that thought, at least be aware that they are there and try my best to feed more positive thought and to counter it, or not to give it value, the negative part. But anyway, I went one big circle. But what I'm trying to say is my deficit is I feel like I'm not good enough. Yeah, I feel like I'm not good enough. And there was a period of time that I was very resentful towards my parents for that. It was always because of y'all. That's why I'm like that.
Yeah.
But for me to even heal myself, I firstly have to accept that they did their best.
Yeah.
And from there, I can accept who they are. Because I am not perfect. Who am I to expect them to be perfect? And I forgive. And I started to take on the responsibility of healing myself. Because while I was angry with them, there was a part of me that was expecting them to heal me. But that would never work.
Yeah.
Because it took me a while to realize, like one day I just felt like, Ben, what are they going to do to heal you? Even if one day they realize that they have hurt you and they apologize, I don't think that apology is going to heal anything. The apology might make me forgive them, but I think for me to heal that part of me, or to change the perception of myself internally, I have to do the work. I have to go through the therapies that I need to go through. I have to go through the healing work, the journaling, the recovery work that I have to go through to put the pieces back together. Is it unfair? Some days I feel that it's unfair. Some days I genuinely do feel like it's unfair, but I cannot safely say that if one day I were to be a parent to kids, my deficits are not going to affect them. Would I want them to hate me? I don't think so. I want them to know that I did my best despite my circumstances. So I think that actually gave me a different perspective to extend the same kind of grace and forgiveness and kindness to my parents, that they did their best, and who they have been, or they had been during that period of time when I was growing up, was also a result of what their parents did to them. And if we're going to trace this all the way back, we're never going to resolve any issue. So I put a stop to tracing back and pointing fingers, and start looking at myself as being the person who need to take the responsibility of putting myself back together again. So I went on that journey, and today I feel like I'm able to see my gaps. I may not have fully filled them up yet, but at least I am not on a journey of self-destruction anymore, subconsciously. In the past, it was all the subconscious self-destruction, man. It was so bad. Yeah.
It's it really touches me a lot what you're saying, because these days I've been having a lot of conversations over this with friends, and one with my mom yesterday, because for me, I was puzzled by this idea. yeah, you got to stop believing you are not good enough, because, for the last 2 years, I've been doing the work, man. And I really got into a place where I'm like, no, actually, like I've done the changes with the help of a lot of people that I needed to make,
Yeah.
but I still had that discontentment coming back, and that this is it, that's it, like type of moment, and I got a lot of clues very recently. And this guy Peter is in the US. He was saying, he was talking about pride. He said there is a reason why is the first deadly sin is the first one, and that gave me a clue, that basically that visceral feeling that whatever is in front of me is pathetic, it's not good enough, it's shitty, it's miserable, there is nothing, and that thing, it's pride, and I don't need to listen to it anymore. And as far as I can remember, I heard that voice telling me this very, very long time ago, like very, very long time ago, not only about me, but about the people around me, about the environments I was in. And I could not explain it. I just couldn't explain it. Like there could have been the genie of the magical lamp in Aladdin coming in front of me and being like, 3 wishes, I'm going to change your life. I would have been unable to explain what were the improvements I wanted about the people and the stuff around me, you know? But that visceral feeling that this is mediocre was there. And now I'm very grateful that I do not need to believe this thing anymore, because it's pride. That's all it is. That's all it is. And that's, for me, that has made a giant change in my life, to understand that all it is, it's pride,
Yeah. I feel like if there's always one advice I give to people to comfort people, especially people of the same journey that me and you have taken, is to be gentle with ourselves. And it brings me back to what we talked about in the beginning, where I told you that the idea of deficit for me is very different from what it is 2 years ago. I some days don't believe that I'll be able to fully heal myself. And I feel like that's a very fair belief, because I think there are some wounds that might continue to stay with us even after we put the work in. And there might be some wounds that will completely be alleviated. What will be and what will not be is not up to me. The only thing that's up to me is whether I put in the effort to go address it. Like, for example, my low self-esteem, right? That part of me is still existing. And some days I'm very, very frustrated by it. I'm like, why? After so much money on therapies, after the buckets of tears that I've cried, after the pages of journaling, after like self-reflection, talking to people, why am I still feeling like that? I don't know. Like, I wish one day it would go away. I'm not too old. I still have half my lifetime ahead of me. If I'm gonna go through these negative voices inside of me for the rest of my life, it's actually quite painful. But if I were able to look at where I am today and where I was, maybe let's just say, just even 1 year ago, the way I cope with the negative voices are so different. In the past is, I feel the negative voices, how much it hurt, I numb. Today, I feel the negative voices, how much it hurt, I sit with the feeling. And is it painful? Yeah. Has the pain gone down anyway? Not at all. It's still equally painful. But I stop hurting myself. And there is actually an option of not believing in that voice. In the past, I never had that option. Not because I didn't give myself that option, but because I never knew I had an option, because that voice just felt so real. That voice felt so real. I never even thought that it would be something that would be a misjudgment. But today I know that that voice has been inside of me for so long that I might not be able to get rid of. But can I build another voice? Maybe I can. And one thing I love from the work that I've done is actually this voice that has been carrying me down, right? Used to be the voice that was protecting me during the younger turbulent day that I couldn't protect myself. What do I mean by that? When I was growing up in my family's, with my family, right, it was a very turbulent childhood that a lot of people on the outside don't see, because we hid it very well. But that also meant that I always had to make sure that I don't step on the wrong side of the street. If not, whatever it is that was going to come at me would hit me. So I was always very careful with my behavior, with the things that I do. So that built the perfectionist voice. So every time I do something wrong, I would tear myself down. But when I do something right, I'll be like, oh, I'm safe. I'm not being scolded today. I'm not being, being hurt today. But as we grow older, right, of course, I grew into an adult. There would be nothing that my parents could do to actually hurt me with their words anymore. As much. It would still hurt, but it wouldn't. I actually can say no. I can walk away. Whereas in the past, I couldn't, right? But that voice didn't go away. That voice continued to stay there.
Fear.
And that voice that used to be the voice that protect me from sidestepping has become a voice of habit. It continued to do what it used to do. So I don't know if I'll be able to one day coax that voice out of fear and be like, you have done your job enough. You don't have to try to warn me of everything that I've done bad so that I wouldn't do them again. Just, I am an adult. I can take care of myself today. That's what I'm trying to do, but I cannot confidently say that I'll be able to achieve that within the next 2 years. So if I cannot turn the voice down, what can I do? I try to live with it. I try to see that, okay, that voice is just doing his job. Is the voice the truth? Is the voice the sound of God? No. The voice is just there. Let's not listen to it. Let's gently direct my thought to something else that is more uplifting. But I can only practice it to the best I can. There are some days that I would still sink all the way down and be crippled in bed. And those are the days that I really do beat myself up for, like, Ben, you're such a failure. You have done so much recovery work and you're still here, crippled by that voice. So that's what I mean by I don't know if I'll ever be able to completely eradicate the low self-esteem. Which means there will always be a risk of me going into a relationship, trying to use that relationship to define me. But would I want to use that as a reason to stay away from relationships? I don't think that's healthy either. So I leave it up to God, man. I really leave it up to God. I'm like, I have done my best, God. Like, the rest is in your hand. Please bring me someone who's healthy for me, that we can grow on this journey together. If there are deficits, then there are deficits. Help us heal together or separately. Just help us heal. But I'm tired of being in control. I'm tired of, like, me wanting to heal everything so that I can have a perfect relationship. Me trying to be in control. I cannot. I'm not God. I'm done being God, man. I'm just a human being created by God. So you take charge. You take charge. I'm tired. I want to be a leaf on like a river just floating. Just
a grain of sand on the beach.
Yeah, whatever it is. A grain of sand, a piece of leaf on the river. Like, just take charge. I'm done. So exhausting. Yeah.
I resonate a lot. That reminds me of the last time I initiated the breakup. Like, it was Valentine's Day. We went for dinner in a nice area, a lot of greenery. And we went for a walk after dinner and we saw those beautiful houses and stuff. And the girl I was with was like, would be great if we have a house like this for our children and stuff. And you know what? That triggered the chain reaction that led to the breakup for me.
Why?
I picked up smoking. I stopped talking to her. I went silent into my head for a couple of weeks from that night. I would stand on the balcony, look at the sky, because I was thinking, she's wasting her time. You're not going to be able to afford it. Because like you see, I had those, that voice telling me you're gonna be poor. You won't afford this house. She's wasting her time with, if she thinks she will be able. Yeah. Like that voice was telling me that. She's wasting her time, man. If she wants this house, she needs to bet on a better horse. She won't get that with you. Yeah. She won't, because you will never be able to afford it. Yeah. Man, I was so angry at myself, and I got suicidal, literally, And like, I would be silent over dinners. She was cooking dinner, and she was like, "There's something wrong. You want to talk about it?" I was like, "No, that was 2021. That was 3 years ago, man." And I was consumed by it. And then after a couple of weeks of this bullshit, I told her, "I'm really sorry. You're not happy. I'm not happy. We need to break up, But I had said it so many times. It was so easy for me to say it. And what he tells me now, is that if this happens again, like there is this guy, a very wise man. I was talking with him yesterday. We'll try to have him on the podcast. He said this beautiful thing. He said, if you had the guarantee that what is troubling you right now is a bad dream, how would you go about how would you go with your day about it? Would you carry it? Would you carry it with you? Would you ruin your day about this thing, knowing it is not more than a bad dream? And he said, because a thought, an idea, or even a memory doesn't have more weight than a bad dream. Doesn't have more weight than a bad dream.
That is so true.
Yeah, like when he told me that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like the guy is a therapist. He's been a therapist for decades, and he told me he worked with like abuse survivor and trauma survivor. And one time he said that, and I was like, what? And so it's up to me, right? Like if it's just a bad dream, like would I squander hours, fuck up relationships, and destroy days, weeks, waste months, in rumination and despair and doubt? If I know it's just a bad dream, man, come on, I say it to a couple of people and then, I move on, right?
Talking about bad dream, a couple of days ago, I dreamt of my ex. Oh. And it brought back all the feeling of the pain. And we've been broken up for 2 years plus, and we've not been in touch since then. And I am okay today. On the day to day, I'm okay. Like I'm not grieving over that relationship anymore. But when I had that dream, my goodness, I woke up feeling like the breakup was just yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like sometimes I feel like I wish I could move past and have closure over something, and then things like that will come hit me. And that got me to realize that I don't think I can confidently say that I will be able to fully get over a certain kind of pain, because I really truly don't know. Like sometimes we feel like we're over, and then someone says something or a bad dream comes in, and then you're triggered.
Yeah.
But it's more about what you said just now, like, it's just a dream. So I woke up for 5 minutes, I felt like shit.
Yeah.
And then I went to shower, and then I went off the house. I was like, yeah, it's just a dream. Yeah, it's just a dream. We're not in each other's life anymore. And I have forgiven everything. It's in the past 2 years ago. We have not been talking. There's nothing to hurt me right now. And after that, for the rest of the day, I was able to just move on. But it took a while. So yeah, I think it's coming back to the same thing. Be gentle with ourselves. Be gentle with ourselves, because I think we can never just say that like life is linear, and once we heal, everything goes, not even go up, go smoothly. I don't dare to say that. I'll just really cope with life one day at a time. If it's a shit day, it's a shit day. If it's a day that I need to cry in bed, I cry in bed. If it's a day that I can just get over things quickly, great. If it's a happy day, then it's a happy day. Yeah, truly one day at a time.
Yeah. In terms of being gentle, yeah, you gave a few examples. If someone is listening to us or watching this, and going through the same problem, lack of self-esteem in a relationship, and like you shared a lot of wisdom today. Thanks a lot, man. Is there one more thing you want he or she to know?
You mean the audience?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's so loaded. I would say that like whether you are healing, on a path of healing, or not on a path of healing and still blindsided, I think we're all where we need to be right now. So just be okay with right now. When the time to heal comes, you'll know it and you'll embark on that journey. But if you don't know it, if you don't even know what is wrong with you, you'll never go find the healing that you need. So be gentle with yourself. That's what I would say. Yeah, be gentle with yourself.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Ben, for your time.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap for today. Thank you.